Good morning, everybody. I know that there is a sentencing that's happening. Kim Potter's sentencing is happening right now as we speak. So we're going to jump in right into it and all that. And so we can watch it together as a family. Um, Sorry for the late start, but had some things to do today. So be sure to hit that like button down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're going to jump right into it. I paused it, so we're going to be a few moments behind, but hopefully you guys understand that. I know that we have the family has already come up, said a few things already, spoke on behalf of the sentencing, trying to get him to sentence, trying to get them to sentence Kim Potter to the fullest extent, to the longest that she can be out there, locked up in prison. Now they're looking at something like 7 years, a maximum of 7 years for this devastating mistake that she did. Something that the mother said that I thought was very interesting as well, and I will go into this here very shortly. But something that the mother said in the very beginning is, yeah, she might get, say, a couple years in prison, but she will have a lifetime. Her and her family will have a lifetime living with this sadness, living with the fact that his own son, Daunte Wright Jr., will never really fully know his father. They will miss him forever. And I thought that hit really, really hard. But let's get into, of course, I'll probably play back what the family said here later. But this is what the defense was saying so far. So let's jump into it, shall we?
We recognize them. There's no disrespect intended to the booking photograph at Shakopee. Potter indicates they asked her to smile. She smiled. It was not meant to be disrespectful. It was in response to the prison's request. There are two questions for the court today. The first is whether to dispositionally depart, and the second is to durationally depart if you're unwilling to dispositionally depart. So that the key question is the first one. And that is a question of whether or not, in law and in fact, Officer Potter is particularly amenable to probation. And to answer that question, we rely on the probation office to initially evaluate the claim. I often think sometimes probation officers are not given enough credit for the work they do, because there's always disputes at sentencing and they can please no one really. But in this case, the report is exceptional. It's well done, it's well written, it's fair. It says all the bad facts for the defense and all the good facts for us as well. It has a sense of balance to it. And the report does suggest to you that Officer Potter is amenable to probation. It's a recommendation that carries heavy weight because the probation office is what you rely on to make decisions. They do the investigation. They actually talk to the defendant and the family and make a decision or recommendation as to probation and whether she's amenable. And she is, according to that report. So the first hurdle for any defendant asking for amenability findings is to get past the probation report, and we've done that. And that report alone would provide you with authority and reasonable reliance to impose a probationary sentence. This was an unintentional crime. It was an accident. It was a mistake. And
still doesn't bring the guy
claim
back, though.
in the state's brief as well, the guidelines suggest 86 months, therefore we should follow them. But then if we dig deeper, we realize that the guidelines aren't always followed. And for 60% of the women in Minnesota who face a presumptive commit, they are given probationary dispositions.
Just so you know, to hell or Tahili, I think. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but I didn't play the theme song this morning. But so I'll try to play it before the end of the show.
So on the one hand, we can say, well, the guidelines are 86 months. On the other hand, we should also say they aren't always followed in 60% of the time for females. And for males, they aren't followed in 35%. And in our sister jurisdiction in Ramsey County, they're not followed 50%, according to the most recent evaluation booklet of the Sentencing Guidelines Commission. And the reason they're not followed is that they're too high for many defendants, especially for the first-time defendants. There's a recognition in the court system that individuals who face the court the first time need not go to prison in order to effectuate a just result. So the departure rate is really high. And the question for the court is not only whether she's amenable to probation, but whether she should fall into the 60% range. I got to get my water here for a second.
Okay. Let me scroll up. Oh, he comes back quickly. Okay. Nervous?
The factors in Trog are clearly found here in State versus Trog. It was a huge opinion when it came out in 1982. We all, for those of us around in 1982, it was an astounding opinion because it provided the probationary option under the new guidelines. And all the factors that are listed in that case, she meets. There's no record. She's got a 26-year work history. She has expressed contrition and remorse, which I'll talk about a little bit later in terms of the quality of it. She bears no risk of recidivism. She can't be a police officer in the future. There's no danger to the public. She'll never own a gun again, obviously.
You sure about that?
And that she has enormous community support, which I'll talk about in a second as well. So the factors are all there. You have the report that says probation is available, and then we have the Trog factors, which resonate here. And I often think of, I often think of Judge Amdahl and what he might do here.
You ain't wrong, Big Mama.
I mean, he gave a break to Mr. Trog, affirmed that sentence. I dare say, it's hard to know what anyone would do, but I dare say he might find the factors here persuasive for Officer Potter in his memory. You know what I think the court misses in all these cases is an interaction with the family. We had a chance to be in this room next door, and there's a jury room attached to it. And so we spent a month with Kim's family, and every day there was a new set that came in to be with her. The husband who's here, there's sisters who are here, and a sister-in-law, but then there were nephews and friends of the family and former police officers, and it was different every day. And they sat in the jury room, and Earl and Man and I sat in the courtroom, and we gave them their time. I wish you could have seen it. I think they were all there to be with her, to pay their respects to her for everything that she had done for them. And I wish you could see the tremendous amount of love they had for her and non-judgmental empathy they had for her in that room. And we all found it remarkable. And we all found that we should leave them alone. And even during the jury deliberation, she was there with her two sons and her husband, and often in her husband's arms, crying, and the boys were with her, and it was moving, I'll say that. And I think they were all there, all the family members and the friends, because she has lived a virtuous life, and they are trying to pay her back. When I think of Kim, I think of someone who's lived out all the virtues that we could imagine. She's a Catholic. I've talked to her about the Catholic virtues. They're well known to Catholics, but perhaps not the courts. The Catholic virtues are prudence, justice, temperance, courage, fortitude, faith, hope, charity, and the biggest virtue of all, of course, is kindness. And she has lived those out. And if we want to be secular, because we are a secular court, we could refer to Aristotle's virtues. And he gave the advice that if we want to live a virtuous life, we practice small acts of virtue, of course. And Aristotle's virtues are courage, temperance, liberality, patience, truthfulness, friendliness, fortitude. And she's done all of that too. So you have to balance this for one 5-second mistake against all of this. And if the virtues get too complex, I often think of a famous line from Saul Bellows, perhaps his greatest book, where he talks about this. He says, I have a feeling about the axial lines of life with respect to which you must be straight. And later in the paragraph, he says, when the striving stops, they are as a gift. So we can forget about the Catholic virtues or Aristotle's virtues and just say, have you lived a straight line?
What?
Have you tried to live a straight line?
Okay.
Axial or otherwise. And because she's lived a straight line, she has enormous community support. And had she not lived a straight line, she wouldn't be here with all these people.
If you, oh my God, what? What is he trying to? Y'all.
That I'm going to talk about.
This is bad. She lived a straight line. She did blah blah. Do you know she had other things on her rap sheet as well, where she made mistakes and stuff. So how was she living a straight line if she done mucked up, causing damage to police cars, so on and so forth? Big things. So what are you talking about, man? This is grasping at straws for me. Let's go. Come on, man.
Now the state contends in their memorandum that the claim of remorse and amenability to probation is, quote, not particularly compelling. We take issue with that. The public would disagree. Since she's been in prison, she has received 3 boxes of cards. Dear Kim, how are you? Dear Kim, we care about you.
And that's supposed to lessen her sentence because...
And I want those to know who wrote these cards. This
What?
is just one of 3, by the way. Thousands of cards.
Who cares?
That she intends to answer each one. So for those of you who are watching, she will answer you.
This is idiotic.
Because she always has.
This is idiotic.
But let me give you, and I didn't submit all these to the court. I thought I would read a couple just to give you a sample.
What?
And they're all very short and heartfelt. This one's from...
How is this even...
an officer up in the northern part of Minnesota.
How is this even relevant? How is this even relevant, yo? How is this even relevant to the case? This has nothing to... Man, shut up, man. Oh, my God. Oh my God.
My
This
dear
is
Kim,
dumb.
she writes, my name is, I work there. I want you to know that even though we've never met, my heart is completely broken for you. And I'm devastated by your situation. I've also been in law enforcement for a long time and have 2 sons, and I'm just destroyed on your behalf. What happened to you could have happened to any of us. As a law enforcement community across the country, we are reeling from the shock of this case. This deputy's hope is that you, Kim, and your family will be protected from feelings of despair and that you may be physically safe. She concludes by saying, I've never been so moved by a situation like this. I want you to know in your heart and remember every day that you are not alone.
Tanya Hicks, thank you so much for becoming a member of the family. Thank you so much for being a Pascal Show family member. It really does mean a lot. Thank you so much for your support. I would throw up your name on the screen, but I can't right now because my screen's occupied with this bull. His name is Paul Enns. Paul N. Paul N. And he's giving us an He's reading fan mail. You understand that? He's reading fan mail in hopes that this will sway the judge to give her a lighter sentence. Fan mail. Why aren't people going in on defense when the defense is doing some stupid stuff? Paul Eng is doing this stupid ass ish right now because he thinks this is going to change. He thinks it's going to change the outcome, the future for Kim Potter by pulling out fan mail. Man, I'm just saying, fellas, tear a page out of this book. Maybe it might work. You know what I'm saying? If you're caught cheating, you know what I'm saying? And you go, hey man, I got my boys backing me up. I got all these text messages from my friends being like, yo man, I feel bad for you. You're a good dude. Yeah, you may have stuck your hand in the cookie jar once or twice or 3 times. It doesn't matter. You're still a good dude. Use this. See, and let me know if it works for you with all y'all cheating asses out there. Try this. Try this act right here. And let me know if it works for you. This is some bull, y'all. This is some absolute bull. Dramatic pause. I'm sure there was more in that letter that he couldn't even read because it was probably some racist stuff that was coming out in that letter. But she's getting fan mail, so he's going to read the letters in hopes that the judge will sit there and go, you know that one right there with the hearts on the envelope, that moved me, that moved my soul. Therefore, I'm gonna. You can walk free. It's all good. What the hell? Just probation. Get out of here. Fan mail? Fan mail.
There's one from Chaska. They're all small cards.
Who cares?
People took the time to write her. This is unheard of for a defendant.
Are you sure about that? Serial killers had pen pals all the time. What are you talking about? Ted Bundy had pen pals writing to him. Women, all that stuff. You kidding me, right? You don't see defense attorneys coming in with his fan mail saying he has fans. He did a very, very bad thing. But do you see how much he's moved a certain demographic, a certain part of the country, a certain corner of the world? Don't you see? Come on, man. They all got pen pals. They all get little emails. They all get the same old ish. Man, there are dating sites in which people can go and reach out to inmates and start relationships with these people all on the lines, on the nets and stuff. And you're talking about, this is unprecedented. This has never happened before. You're lying like a mug. This is the worst defense, closing, or like arguments or whatever you want to call it for this ish. Worst ever. This man should be fired.
I dare say no one in this room has ever seen anything like this.
Get out of here. Shut the hell
Dear
up.
Kim, I hope this message finds you well. Heart shape. I do not have the right words, but please know that I support you. I support Blue. You have an amazing community behind you. Please know that you are not alone. You make the world a better place.
How did she make the world a better place? By accidentally killing a young black man? Think about what kind of stuff he's reading right now. What are you talking about? Oh my God, why are you reading this stuff? You make the world a better place? Think about it, y'all. Think about it. Tamara, yeah. It looks like he's getting red in the face and he's getting emotional over this issue. You make the world a better place. What are you talking about, man? What is that, the person who wrote that, what is that person pertaining to? How she made the world a better place. One last black person on this planet is a better place. Think about it, y'all. This is some trash. Why is he reading this crap? Do you realize that also there are people outside the courthouse that are obviously protesting and all that on behalf of her? By reading this stuff and they're watching this, don't you think that's poking a sleeping bear? Just saying. Why read this stuff? It's unnecessary.
Be good to yourself and kind to your heart. With love from Chaska. These cards came from all over the country and all over the world, actually. We've gotten cards from Europe. One final one, and then I'll move on.
Thank you, please.
This one's handwritten.
Bullshit.
From Brooklyn Park.
Get out of here. You completely lost me, man.
Dear Miss Potter, my name is. My heart aches for your situation. I want you to know you're in my prayers constantly. My husband is a retired state trooper.
So?
And knows the agony of split-second decisions.
Yeah, and?
If okay with you, I'd like to write you regularly. Sincerely, Judy. And roughly a third of these letters want to have continued communications with her.
Oh my God.
And then, despite the community support and the remorse that she's going to articulate for you again today after I'm done, the state's claim is that she just hasn't done enough or shown enough.
Hit that like button, y'all. Hit that like button.
Unique individuals, and what the state may find to be a level of remorse that they'd like to see may not be what someone feels in their heart themselves. Her feelings are her feelings. And I get the sense that we're somehow, the state is somehow asking to subjectively evaluate her level of remorse and make a standard of subjectivity that they want. But the court has never been required to parse out that sort of level. You're just supposed to look at the Trog factors. Does she express remorse or doesn't she? You can't engage in psychoanalysis here. That's not the holding of Trog. She was remorseful the moment the gun was fired. She went into trauma. Her officers at the scene then called in the tragedy, and the police responded immediately. The state contends that she has no quote-unquote moral anguish, but the record is replete that she does. I mean, she testified she does. The videos of Kim crying on the ground are replete with moral anguish. I mean, we just can't have a Kafkaesque standard of what remorse is and then have the state say, well, you haven't met our standard. We ask, well, what is the standard? And then we just haven't seen enough remorse, so we don't know what the standard is. And so we never can meet what their standard is. But that's not how law works. It's never worked that way. So the question again is whether she's amenable and should be included in those 60%. The state seems to agree that she is at page 6 of their memo. They set out the various conditions that would satisfy them. So it's a hedging memo. It's the kind of memo that concedes that the defense has a claim for amenability. And the conditions that they want, we accept. I mean, they want a meeting with the family, and we accept that. We would do that. In the adversarial system, that's impossible. But now it is, and we would welcome that with court supervision somehow. They want Ms. Potter to give speeches and presentations about weapons confusion. We will do that. She's willing to go across the state and talk about that to the extent that she can discuss the confusion and design features of a taser and how inappropriate they may be. We'll be happy to do that.
Happy to do that. You're supposed to be doing that regardless. You see what I'm saying? This is some trash, y'all. This is some absolute trash. All right? That should be a given, that she's willing or that she's going to do speeches and stuff like that about weapons confusion and stuff like that and how to avoid it and blah, blah, blah. Sure. Don't sit there and say, oh, yeah, she's willing to do that. She's supposed to do that regardless, even if she gets out of prison or however long she's sentenced for. As soon as she gets out or while she's still in prison, she should be talking about that and preventing from other cops doing the same damn thing, period. You should have skipped all this fan mail crap and got straight to the point, dag nabbit.
It was something that was not possible before trial, but it's possible now. The other factors for probation that go beyond TROG are vulnerability to the prison setting. She is in an isolated setting right now in Shakopee. They have her isolated because they don't want her in the regular population. As a police officer, she would be vulnerable to assault. The people in prison, in order to get prison, can be quite violent. Those 40% of the women. So they've isolated it. And the related ground for amenability to probation or for probationary disposition is that there has been a diminution of her mental health while in isolation. And I know the court's intent was never to place her in isolation in prison, but the fact of the matter is that in my discussions with the prison officials, they have decided that she should see no one. So all she does is spend her days getting checked every 30 minutes by a guard, making isolated phone calls, and staying in her cell. And as a result, she, like many people who are in isolation, suffer from a decline of mental and physical health. And we know from statistics and the analysis of social science that isolation in prison is harmful. And so while the court never dreamed that perhaps that she would be in such an isolated setting, it is harming her. So we have on the one hand punishment, but on the other hand, if you send her to prison, you will harm her.
Did you hear that? By taking her to prison, this is going to harm her. By keeping her in isolation, it is going to harm her. Isn't that what prison is all about? Punishment for wrongdoing, punishment for making a very devastating, life-ending mistake? Isn't that how it is? Yeah. Thank you, strategic guys. Man, I wish I could pull it up, but I can't because I got this screen occupied. But thank you so much. He says, although I don't agree, I appreciate you covering the story, Pascal. Keep on rocking, brother. Yeah, I appreciate the support, strategic guys. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Yeah. And yeah, I get it. We live in a world where there's a lot of people that don't agree with this, right? Totally fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. In mine, she did the crime. She most definitely should do the time. Whether that's 7 years, whether that's a year, she should be doing the time. I know the family wants her there locked up for life, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. What this defense needs to be doing, though, is they just need to shut the hell up, say their facts, and move on. Not try to make it seem like she's a public figure now, and she's changing everybody's lives and all that. She changed one family's life. She changed one man's life. That man is no longer here. Regardless if he was a criminal or not, this man who he had his own rap sheet, he should have been able to have the right to go into court, fight for his freedom, and pay his time for the crimes that he did. Not be shot and killed at point blank range because a cop who should know the difference between a gun and a taser didn't know the difference. That's why she is paying the time for the crime that she did to Daunte Wright. Now, I know we can all disagree, but these are the breaks, y'all. These are the breaks. And this man right here, this defense attorney, is just, I don't know what he's doing. I feel like he's drowning because none of this is working for me. I'm sure to another bias on the other side of the fence, they're all sitting here going, yeah, she's this and this, and she's going to do this and this. Give her a chance. You know what I'm saying? Give peace a chance. I get it. But this ain't working for me. On the other side of the fence, this ain't working for me. Daunte Wright should still be alive right now. Maybe a few days after being tased, he's locked up and all that, and he's feeling some soreness, but at least he's still alive. And one thing we can't take back is that mistake in bringing this boy back to life.
We are not in the business of harming defendants. If there's any question about it, we've submitted her therapist's letter to you in confidence, confirming that such isolation is harmful, given her fragile state and her diagnosis. The greatest sin of all in the church and in secular world is a failure of generosity. And I submit to you that Kim never committed that sin willingly or intentionally. She, in her world, met the obligation to do good. And she did. And because she did good, we ought not be cheap about her life either, because it's been a generous life to everybody she's met. Hennepin County is a wonderful district because it's innovative. It's the busiest district in the state, but the bench is famous for providing programs to first-time offenders to keep them out of jail. The drug court was tremendously innovative. Remand was innovative. The property courts. There's a veterans court, and all these ideas were new once they started, and they were tremendous because they kept people out of prison. And they engaged in sort of a forgiveness if they would do certain things. And, in drug court, for example, many people were looking at presumptive commits and never went. They got help, they got treatment. And they were a part of the 30% of men who don't go. And we're famous for this. And this is a district with a big heart.
Thank you, Sandra Myers,
And
for the
the other
$5 super
districts
chat.
across
Thank
the
you.
state have adapted what we've done here in Hennepin County. And we should be thinking along the same lines for her. I've got a got a couple letters, and then I'll reach the durational departure, and then we'll hear from Kim.
Wait a second. Kim's going to talk? Oh, no. Is that true? Hold up. Don't ruin it for me, because, y'all seen the ending of the movie already, but still. For real, though? Oh, okay.
I've submitted all these to the court. I know you've read them. This is just profound. This, too, is unheard of. And I must tell you, I edited out at least 25 to 50 that I didn't send. That were redundant or just not quite right to send. Some of them questions what happened here, which is okay to voice, but this is tremendous. And these are, the last part just came in to Brooklyn Center for her. And I had no difficulty requesting people to write letters. They just kept coming and coming. I have a stack in my office which came in too late.
It doesn't matter.
But I have, I've read them all, and there's one that there are a couple that I'd like to quote to you because they tell us who she is and why you should give her a break here. The first one's from an EMT. This was written to me, and I've sent it to you.
Appreciate you too, Big Mama.
I want to quote parts of it. I hope I can get through it, frankly.
I'm sorry for pausing so damn much, but I can't with this dude. I want to skip, but I can't because this is just, oh my God. Oh my God. I should be a lawyer. I'm sorry. I should just go to law school and call it a damn day. If he could get away with this kind of stuff, man, I could just walk into any case and just be like, listen, there's, he got DMs, he got this, that, and the third. I mean, what's the reason? What's the problem here? Just he's not guilty. The defense rests. I mean, literally, this is literally what he's doing. Man, wow. Okay, I'm going. I'm sorry. Oh, and yes, you don't you're right. Read the letters from the other side. LOL. Absolutely. What about the letters that Daunte Wright's family's receiving? What about the text messages, the videos, the commentators that have talked on behalf of this saying, hey, what this woman did was wrong. What this officer did was wrong. And it was bad. Why aren't we doing that? Why are they showing that? They're just coming in with all these love letters to Kim Potter? All right. Okay.
Although I only knew Officer Potter.
Just give her a break, man. She had a bad day, man. Just give her a break, man. Come on, man. This ain't working for me, man. When is he going to be done, though? That's what I'd like to know. This, it's just, he ain't working for me.
Potter professionally throughout my 25 paramedic career. I had never witnessed Officer Potter mistreat, disrespect, nor use any force on any individual. Officer Potter had an amazing way of connecting with everybody. She was nothing but professional, helpful, caring to the other first responders and individuals in crisis involved in a 911 call. Her aura was infectious and quickly gained respect on any call just simply by walking into the scene. You see, Officer Potter never introduced herself in any other way than Kim to the families and individuals that requested 911 assistance. All the letters said the same thing, but this one was unique. The EMT recounts that in 2009,
Thanks,
one of her colleagues was killed. She was at the scene with him as he died. I remember seeing the look on his face after he was lying there on the floor. It was a look I'd never seen before. I couldn't remember some events after this. And it so happened that Officer Potter was at the honor guard at the funeral. And quotes Officer Carter kept checking on me as well as my other colleagues, making sure we were all taken care of. She made a huge impact on all of us during this devastating time.
Arisalia, I think I said your name right. I'm sorry, I can't pull your comment up here, but you ain't wrong. The 99% of the time that you don't murder someone does not excuse the 1% you freaking do. That's absolutely right. Like I said, she could have had a pristine, untarnished record. But what still happened. She still pulled out a gun. She's still thinking that it was a taser. With the 20 plus years of service and training that she has, she didn't know the difference in her hand, the weight difference, the feel of it, none of that. She did not know the difference between a taser and a gun at a very crucial time. She should pay for her crimes. Period. Whether it was premeditated or a full-on freak accident, which I literally do lean towards more of it. I don't think it was premeditated. I do think that it was a mistake, but she should pay for that mistake. This young boy, this young man is no longer here. That's it. There should be no argument here. This woman should not walk free just because she's a cop and she has a untarnished. She killed somebody. She should pay the time, period.
The EMT goes on to state that she was suffering from PTSD, which may have occurred here too.
But it was self-inflicted. You got to understand. She's suffering PTSD because she did that on herself. It was self-inflicted. Does not mean anything about this trial, nothing about anything else that occurred. She made the mistake. She put the PTSD on her own damn ass. That's it. And you're right. Hey, watch this. Mistake is not a defense. No, it is not. Because no matter what, still does not bring this boy back to life. Still does not bring this boy to be a father to his young son. Does not bring a smile to the family's faces every holiday time and birthdays and family gatherings. None of that. Like I said, this woman should be tried, which she is. She should be sentenced, and she should pay for her time. But don't give us the song and dance of, oh, she's dealing with PTSD and the solitary confinement of where she is in the prison and blah blah blah. That is them are the breaks, baby. Them are the breaks. If you do criminal activity, you are treated as such, as a criminal. This should not, I hope, should not sway the judge with her final decision on sentencing for Kim Potter. I really hope it doesn't. Because the PTSD, she did it herself. That was self-inflicted.
In light of her colleague's death. She goes on to say, I thought I was hiding my symptoms pretty well until one day I went on medical call in Brooklyn Center with Officer Potter. We ended up not transporting the individual in an ambulance, and we were walking out together. After the call, Officer Potter once again asked me how I was doing. I always responded, fine, thanks. While sitting inside of the back of the ambulance on the bench seat with the back doors of the ambulance open, Officer Potter jumped in.
Yes.
In the back of the ambulance and shut the doors. So just the two of us were there inside. Officer Potter put her right hand on my right shoulder and looked me straight in the eye. I will never forget what she then said. I've been noticing you have not been yourself for some time now. What can I do to help? Of course, I tried not to show her that I was hurting. Officer Potter sat down on the stretcher right in front of me and grabbed my hand. She told me it was okay to feel pain. I immediately began to tear up, and Officer Potter stayed with me and called me. Please keep in mind, I only knew Officer Potter professionally during my whole career. She did not have to take this time, nor did she owe me anything. It was just her personality and character. I can honestly say she genuinely cares for everyone she meets.
Genuinely.
Officer Potter helped me out of a dark place where I had no idea of the true meaning of PTSD. Without this interaction of Officer Potter, I can say I don't know how long it would have taken me to get help and realize how much a toll my PTSD from the line of duty and death had taken on me. I had new respect for Officer Potter that day. I truly learned just how much of an impact her kindness meant. Every time I would run into her on a medical call after this day, we would check in on each other and offer a smile.
Exactly, Justice Gordon.
With her help, I was able to retire from law enforcement, being proud of the people I served. She concludes by saying, EMT does, she is an incredible officer as well as person. The world would be an amazing place if everyone would strive to be even half the person she is.
She called him Matlock. Debbie.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Oh, God. Real quick, hit that like button. Send those likes all the way up. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I appreciate it. You ain't wrong,
so
strategic.
She's amenable. She's particularly amenable, given her life, and a sentence which would stay the prison sentence would be just and right here. And I only approach the durational departure issue as a secondary argument. I'd offer no disrespect to Mr. Wright and his family, but there is a departure ground, and I would like to articulate it to you. It's all over the letters. Under section 2D.203A1, if the victim is an aggressor, that is considered a mitigating fact. A single mitigating fact is sufficient under the law. That's State versus Solberg, 8A2 Northwest 2nd, 614, 618, Minnesota 216. There's nothing wrong with raising this as a factor. This is an adversarial system. We're duty bound to advocate for the least amount of time. And again, I offer no disrespect here. But we're lawyers for her. And if the victim was aggressive, it is a mitigating ground. I request the court to make findings for the community, particularly for the law enforcement community, that there was aggression on the part of Mr. Wright. Driving without a license in a car without insurance, perhaps not. There was marijuana in the car. Past instance of flight. He was arguably intoxicated with marijuana, which driving a car while intoxicated is a violent act. It can be. I would like the court to acknowledge that warrants of the court do matter and should be honored. This was a warrant for his arrest. I'd like the court to acknowledge that running away from the police officers, three of them, is a violent act. It's an aggressive act. And that in this case, it has a potential of harming the officers, and it did, according to the testimony. The state, on the other hand, says this, quotes, Daunte Wright was not an aggressor against defendant. Daunte Wright made no aggressive or violent movements toward defendant Potter or the other officers. Daunte Wright simply pulled away from Officer Lucky in an attempt to drive off. We beg to differ. The testimony of Officer Lucky and Sergeant Johnson is that this was a dangerous situation. Sergeant Johnson was reaching in to prevent him from driving away and could have been hurt. Each said so. This was an aggressive act. I don't know how it couldn't be aggressive act. There's no requirement that Kim Potter be a victim of the aggression herself. The law says that she can defend other officers on the scene, and so statute 609066. So, she can do that. The whole idea of this victim of the aggressor mitigation is where, as here, there's a self-defense claim that's defeated. It's not perfect. The jury rejected it, but nonetheless, the facts show that the victim, Mr. Wright, was the aggressor. And so when that happens, and it happens here, you have a durational departure ground. The state would also say, quotes, it's repeated again, their claim is that Daunte Wright was, quotes, not combative with the officer. He made no threats to the officer. He did not act aggressively towards the officer. That's at page 11. That's inconsistent with the record. We take issue with that. Her intended response here to the aggression was to use the taser. Clearly, that's what the facts show. And therefore, her conduct was rooted in an innocent mistake, believing that she was using a taser and had a gun. And that makes the case significantly less serious than the typical manslaughter case because it was rooted in a mistake, rooted in innocence at the moment in response to a violent act. That makes it different. And so you have durational departure grounds. And the state seems to agree that departure grounds do exist because they're falling away from the Blakely claim. No longer are they asking for 10 to 20 years or whatever they were asking for. And the Blakely claim was critical at trial because they got all this evidence in of Daunte Wright's scene of death on the grounds. As you recall, that, oh, it's Blakely, we got to get it in. But they've abandoned that. And I would suggest to you that the case was overcharged. They should never have charged first-degree manslaughter for a first-time a defendant. They should never ask for 86 months for someone like her. I have a couple more letters and I will have concluded my remarks.
Maybe he's killing time so
this one
that
is from,
I don't know. Maybe he's killing time so the judge goes for a break and it gives the judge more time for her to ruminate and maybe change her mind. Maybe that's what he's doing in hopes that they go into lunch or something. I don't know. This is just crazy.
The former chief of police of Brooklyn Center. This came in late, but I forwarded it to you. I hope you got a chance to read it. It's he recounts that in July of 2014, I responded with several officers to a report of a toddler who had been struck by a vehicle. What happened here is that the child had been run over by his father and died. Everybody at the scene was having a difficult time with the call, he says. We forget how much trauma police experience on a daily basis, frankly. I took this call very hard, says the former chief, as I had just welcomed my second child to this world a few weeks earlier. Her name was the same name as the little girl who died in the accident. My other child was a 14-month-old girl. I read this letter because the following happened. Quotes, Kim came to my office a few days after this tragedy. She closed the door, sat down, and placed her feet on my desk, something I normally assume would be followed with a resignation letter. She asked me how I was doing. She was talking to me person to person, not as a coworker or manager. In just a few minutes, she had my trust to share the challenges I was having with the accident call. I felt like a 10-ton weight was lifted from my shoulders, and it was life-changing. I was seriously considering leaving law enforcement a year early as a result of this call, and she helped me move past my doubts. Kimberly has helped many other first responders and officers, and if others benefit, just benefit just by a fraction of how I did, I know it made a notable impact on their lives. In closing, I know there are hundreds of examples of Kimberly's selfless acts to help others. She didn't do it for money, as none of these examples involve pay. She didn't do it for promotion, as nothing here is a rank. She did it because she truly cares about helping others. You know, he didn't have to write that. You know? I returned to family for her. You know, her son has written to you as well. Again, I wish you could have seen this in the room with the two boys. They're young men. Samuel Potter says, my mom is my rock. She is the reason I am where I am today. She's the reason I am the man I am today. Without her, I don't know where I would be. She raised my brother and me to live by the golden rule, to treat people how we want to be treated. I feel I do this to the best of my ability. And we can't ask any more of a young man than that, can we? Finally, the last excerpt I'd like to read, and then I will conclude. It comes from her mother.
Her mama? Oh, man. Her mama.
I think for those who have lost our mothers, this will
get out of here.
Even resonate further, because once you've lost your mother, there's an incredible vacuum in your life. You may recall that her mother came to the trial a couple times and sat in the corner and watched her daughter testify. She says, I am almost 82 years old, and I need quite a lot of help now. Kim is such a help to me. She's the one who cleans my apartment, changes my sheets, and makes sure I have what I need. She helps me go places because I can no longer drive long distances or drive easily in the dark. She helps me with my banking and my bills so I don't pay anything late. These things have gotten a lot harder for me as I've gotten older, and Kim keeps me on track. Sort of an axial line there too. Kim is my daughter, but she's also my friend. She's the youngest of our 4 children by several years. When the older ones went away to college, Kimberly was the one who left at home. She and I spent a lot of time together, and we were very close. I confide in her. She's always able to understand me and help me when I have a question or when I'm worried about something. And she goes on to say this, she's a good person, and it makes me sad that people are talking so terribly about her. They make all kinds of conclusions about her because she chose her career to be a police officer. They just assume things, and they don't even take the time to try to get to know her before they make all kinds of judgments and awful statements about her. We taught her to treat others as she would want to be treated. I feel sad that other people in our city don't do the same. Why do we just keep letting people do this? Kimberly was a good officer, but the job is a stressful one. I don't know how she did it. I wouldn't have wanted to, but we need police officers to protect us. I'm glad someone wants to do it. If we send good police officers to jail when they make mistakes, we won't have anyone who wants to be one, which is a reframe of many letters. She concludes, her mother does, I love my daughter. I'm proud of her. I think that you know in your heart that it was a horrible accident. Please be lenient and give her probation so she can come home and help me.
So Mama Potter needs help with her bills and being able to change her bed sheets and whatnot. Please send her home. Plea. That's literally what just happened right there. I can't get help. She's the only one who can help me. Please send her home because I'm not as able to do what I need to do. She takes care of my bills. She makes sure I'm okay, etc. I have nothing without my daughter. Plea. Literally, that just happened. Very interesting. Interesting, guys. Interesting. And Peggy, yeah, I see there's some stuff about Cody Bigsby, which we're going to be talking about here in a couple hours as well. Like I said, there's so many stories that I'm trying to keep up on. It's just insane. But this is his plea. Now, let me say this really quick. What Paul is doing, the defense attorney, her lawyer, he's doing his job. He's trying to paint her as a helpful member of society, that she's a good woman, so on and so forth. So he's singing for his supper. He's doing his job. It's just, he's doing his job as a defense attorney. It just sucks when you're on the other side of the fence, if you're not on her side, obviously. It's hard to listen to this kind of stuff. But he is doing his job. Is he doing it well? I leave that up to the fam.
Maybe, this is a very unique defendant here, given her age and career, and it's, I would urge the court to approach it this way. Maybe it's time we should help her too. We're helping all sorts of defendants who come through Hennepin County, and she should be helped. This is something that perhaps she's never going to get over. I don't think she's ever going to get over it, frankly, given the report that you've read. And it's time to reach out to someone like her and say, okay, what can we do for you? A lower sentence would, in our thinking, the way of thinking, reflect the roles of mercy and forgiveness, which are both essential. What remains of her life is that she's been a good daughter and a good sister. She's a loving mother, 2 wonderful boys, young men. She's been a wonderful companion to her husband, Jeff, who completely adores her, and rightly so. She loved her community, and she absolutely loved being a police officer.
You ain't wrong, K Solo.
And these are the relationships that mark a life and form the units of a life. And may these units of her life be the ultimate calculation for mitigation here. Thank you.
He's done.
All right, we're going to take a 15-minute break.
Nabbit.
Then I'll allow Ms. Potter, if she wishes to address the court. Okay? So 15 minutes.
The judge should do some ASMR. I'm sorry. I said it. Okay, so the 15 minutes are over, so we can jump right to it. Kim Potter does actually come up and speak, y'all. So we got to look at this right quick. She just has such a nice, soothing speaking voice. You know what I'm saying? She should do some ASMR. She'd make millions. But they come back. They're back at it. Apparently, she comes up and speaks. This is insane. I don't think this is normal. I don't think it is. Maybe it is. I don't know. But anyway, it's not like I see courtroom stuff all the time. But bruh, this is insane. Yes, the judge does have an amazing speaking voice. It's very, like I said, soothing, and she could read like Harry Potter books You know what I mean? But with an American accent. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, let's get into it. Kim Potter comes up here. Let's see if I can skip to it. Oh, have mercy. She really does come up. Wow. She walks up, baby. Let's go. What's she going to say?
Daunte Wright. I am so sorry that I brought the death of your father.
Okay, Miss Potter, my court reporter can't hear you.
We already starting right off. Woo! Right off the rails. Off the rails with her. I get it though. I get it. She going through some things. She's going through some things, y'all. Like all jokes aside, I really do believe in the body cam footage when she mistakenly, there we go, the taser for a gun, pulled the trigger, and then realized that she had a gun in her hand, and she fell onto that grassy knoll and just had a complete mental breakdown. I truly believe that was 110% real, and I think she's still not over that in her mind. She took a man's life, and it wasn't. I mean, some people will sit here and go, it was justified, but it was not a justified killing. It was not a justified shooting. So, with that being said, this is still her on that grassy knoll. Does that make sense? Her mind is still going through it, right? She's still fighting to come to terms with what she's done, right? So hearing from her mouth, like, because we didn't really hear anything from Derek Chauvin. We didn't hear anything from any of the Aubrey Ahmaud Arbery trial that we watched as well. We didn't see anybody say nothing. None of the defendants went to the stand and said not a damn thing when it came to their sentencing. And actually, I'm glad that they didn't. Right now, her coming up and saying this, she is pleading for her life right now. She's pleading for a lesser sentence right now, but it's already going off the rails to begin with. I don't blame her for what she is, what she's going through mentally, but it's already going off the rails. Here we go.
So
Thank you. To the family of Daunte Wright, I am so sorry that I brought the death of your son, father, brother, uncle, grandson, nephew, and the rest of your family to your home. Katie, I understand a mother's love, and I am sorry I broke your heart. My heart is broken for all of you. Earlier, when you said that I didn't look at you during the trial, I don't believe I had a right to. I didn't even have a right to be in the same room with you. I am so sorry that I hurt you so badly. My heart is broken and devastated for all of you. God, I pray for Daunte and all of you many, many times a day. He is not more than one thought away from my heart, and I have no right for that, for him to be in my heart. I do pray that one day you can find forgiveness, only because hatred is so destructive to all of us. And that I pray peace will always be with you and your family. Again, I am so sorry. And to the community of Brooklyn Center, I do owe you an apology too. I loved working for you. And I am sorry what has happened to our community since the death of Daunte. The men and women who work for you still are good, honorable people and will work hard for you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Potter.
Okay, this is one of the saddest cases I've had
Short and sweet.
on my 20 years on the bench.
Here we go. I hope.
On the one hand, a young man was killed, and on the other, a respected 26-year veteran police officer made a tragic error by pulling her handgun instead of her taser. Thank you to everyone who spoke. I have been profoundly moved by the comments of the Wright family. Daunte was very loved. His son has lost a father. And Mr. and Mrs. Wright, I cannot begin to understand the grief of losing a child. I'm so sorry for your loss. Kimberly Potter honorably served her community for 26 years as a police officer. She was a respected officer and consistently went over and above the call of duty. She's a wife, a mother, an aunt, a granddaughter, a colleague, and a friend to many. In addition to the letters that were forwarded to me by Mr. Ng, I received hundreds and hundreds of letters in her support from colleagues, family, friends, acquaintances, community leaders and members, and even strangers. I read them all. They paint a portrait of a woman who touched a lot of people in a good way.
Okay.
I want to talk briefly about the aggravating factors that were brought up in this case. As I mentioned before, the state initially took the position Ms. Potter should receive a sentence above the guidelines and filed a brief in support of two aggravating factors under Blakely. All parties agreed that I would determine whether aggravating factors existed to justify a harsher sentence than that set forth in the guidelines. I feel compelled to address the grounds for that request because they were made public, and I think it is important to note they were not proven in this case. The state did not meet its burden of proof on the first factor. It is based on defendant causing a greater than normal danger to the passenger in the car and two other officers when she fired. But the shot only hit Daunte Wright. The passenger and the officers were not injured by that shot. The cases cited by the state in its brief did not support its position. In fact, they illustrate why this case does not involve a greater than normal danger to others. In the Fleming case, he fired a gun 6 times in a park filled with children. In State versus Omaha, defendant fired numerous shots into 2 apartment buildings. There is no comparison here. The state also did not meet its burden of proof on the second Blakely factor. Contrary to the state's claims, Kimberly Potter did not abuse her position of authority. In fact, it is undisputed Ms. Potter or Officer Potter was in the line of duty and doing her job in attempting to lawfully arrest Daunte Wright on the warrant when she mistook her gun for her taser.
Oh, we're gonna get a lesser sentence,
What's
guys.
more,
I already feel
she
it.
drew her taser legitimately to protect a fellow officer on the other side of the vehicle who could have been dragged and seriously injured if the car were to speed away.
But the taser was never okay. Taser was never pulled out. She thought it was a taser, but the taser was never pulled out. Okay.
Officer Potter's conduct clearly was not significantly more serious than that typically involved in the commission of the crime in question, justifying an upward departure. Turning to defendant's request for a dispositional departure, there is no question that Ms. Potter is extremely remorseful. She showed that today. She showed that when it happened. It is also beyond dispute that she is particularly amenable to probation. But the court retains the discretion to make departure decisions independently. The court is not required to depart even where mitigating factors are present, and that's set forth in State versus Birch, 689 Northwest 2nd, 276, affirmed by the Supreme Court, 707 Northwest 2nd, 660. This has been an extremely difficult decision.
She's gonna get a lesser charge. I just feel it. She gave us everything, every reason. I feel it in my bones. I'm not even looking in the chat right now because I know y'all already ahead of me because you guys are watching it live somewhere else. So I know you guys already know some answers here, and I'm sure you're putting it in the comments, but I'm not looking at the comments right now. But I feel in my bones, deep down in my plums, she gonna get a lesser sentence than 7 years. Let's see what happens. She just laid everything out. Sounds like lesser to me.
In making my decision, I look to the purposes of incarceration. There are 4: retribution, incapacitation, deterrence, and rehabilitation.
Okay.
3 of the 4 would not be served in this case. Incapacitation refers to the physical removal of a convicted person to prevent them from committing future crimes. That is not an issue in this case.
What? Are you okay? Okay, that's one.
Kimberly Potter does not present a danger of future crimes, obviously.
Obviously? I mean, as long as she never touches a gun again ever in her damn life. Okay.
Deterrence refers to the prevention of future crime and the idea that those who have committed crimes will be discouraged from reoffending after experiencing punishment. That purpose would not be served here. Rehabilitation is also not a purpose that would justify incarceration in this case. Ms. Potter does not require rehabilitation to become a law-abiding citizen.
Excuse me? She killed a guy. Okay. Oh, this is interesting.
Retribution.
Retribution, let's
Or
go.
serving time as a way for a convicted person to pay for the harm inflicted on a victim is the sole purpose that applies in this case.
Oh, she's gonna get a lesser.
And in this case, a young man was killed.
Yes.
Because Officer Potter was reckless. There rightfully should be some accountability.
Some. Notice that she said some. Maybe my prediction is right.
Sentencing guidelines are just that. They are guidelines that inform a judge regarding sentencing for various crimes. They are not set in stone. The court has the discretion to depart from guidelines depending on the particular facts of a case.
Mm-hmm.
A downward durational departure is justified if a crime is less onerous than typical. Put another way, if the conduct is significantly less serious than that typically involved in the commission of the crime, sentencing below the guidelines is justified. I find the facts and circumstances here justify a downward departure from the guidelines. First, Officer Potter's conduct was significantly less serious than your typical manslaughter case. The misdemeanor predicate for the manslaughter count was reckless handling or use of a firearm. Here, everybody agrees, and the evidence is undisputed, that Officer Potter never intended to use her firearm. She mistakenly drew her firearm at all times, intending to use her taser. There were police officers and experts who testified that the use of her taser was reasonable and appropriate under the circumstances presented for officer safety reasons. The fact she never intended to draw her firearm makes this case less serious than other cases. Second, the scene was chaotic, tense, and rapidly evolving.
Said this before, but isn't that what police officers are supposed to do? Now, to be able to walk towards the fire, to walk towards the chaos and be cool, calm, collected, be able to handle themselves properly when ish hits the fan. She proved that she could not handle that. I mean, that goes on to something bigger of why was she even on the streets? Why didn't she at least have a desk job? Okay, I digress. But like I said, it's just when chaos goes down, I thought that that's the whole point of remembering things, the law and procedure by rote, so that it's almost like you're a machine. You know what you need to do. You know what the proper way of doing things when ish hits the fan. She proved that she did not know what she was doing when ish hit the fan. This should not be a justifiable thing as far as why she is being sentenced. In my prediction, a lesser sentence. But let's continue. Like I said, I want to look at your comments, but I don't want to know. I already know you guys know some stuff already. I just feel it in my bones. So let's continue.
Officer Potter was required to make a split-second judgment.
Here we go.
That constitutes a mitigating circumstance.
Yep.
Finally, unlike other manslaughter 1 cases, Officer Potter's actions were not driven by personal animosity toward Daunte Wright. Instead, she was acting in the line of duty in effectuating a lawful arrest.
Lesser sentence. Maybe a year?
This case is highly unusual.
Maybe a year.
The other officer cases tried in this court are distinguishable. This is not a cop found guilty of murder for using his need to pin down a person for 9.5 minutes
Derek Chauvin?
as he gasped for air.
Derek Chauvin.
This is not a cop found guilty of manslaughter for intentionally drawing his firearm and shooting across his partner and killing an unarmed woman who approached his squad. This is a cop who made a tragic mistake. She drew her firearm thinking it was a taser and ended up killing a young man.
Hit that like button, y'all. Send those likes up.
Ms. Potter, will you please rise?
Okay. I know some of you already know the prediction, already know the truth, but what do you think? What are your thoughts on this? Is she going to get full 7 years? Or no? Comment in the comment section. I'll look here in a second. We're about to see the sentencing right now as we speak. Let's go. Send those likes all the way up. And if you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe button. All right. And share this feed, please. I'd really appreciate it. Let's go.
Given all these considerations and having carefully considered the comments of the family and of both Daunte Wright and the comments of Kimberly Potter, as well as the arguments of counsel, it is the sentence and judgment of this court that you shall be committed to the custody of the Commissioner of Corrections for a period of 24 months.
2
You
years?
shall serve 2/3 of that time, or 16 months in prison, and 1/3 on supervised release, assuming no disciplinary offenses or conditional release violations. You have credit for 58 days already served. Restitution will be reserved. There'll be a fine of $1,000 and a surcharge of $78 to be taken out of prison wages or due within 180 days. You must provide a DNA sample. You may not use or possess any firearms, ammunition, or explosives. You have the right to appeal the conviction and sentence. If you are unable to pay the cost of an appeal,
I'm sorry.
you may apply for leave to appeal at state expense by contacting the state public defender.
Okay. Okay. So she's spending okay. What? Okay. So I'm sorry. Can I get a moment? Because the sentencing, what's done is done. All right. 2 years, which is basically not really 2 years. It's about a year and a half that she'll spend. Just about 16 months, right? A month, a year and 4 months. So a little bit, almost shy of a year and a half, which she's already spent almost 60 days in prison, already locked up. So apparently that's going to be allotted into that a year and 4 months that she's supposed to be in prison for. So in other words, she's in prison. She's going to be in prison for a year and 2 months, shy of a year, or a little over a year. She'll be in there. Then $1,000, and that's it. 60 days credit is exactly, Isabella. 60 days credit to the year to the 16 months that she's supposed to spend time in prison if she does on good behavior, right? 2 years if she does the full amount, right? Y'all talk in the comment section. Is this fair or no? Let me know. Okay. I get it. She was, somebody who, what? She went and she did everything as far as being serving her city, serving her state, being a police officer, so on and so forth. But she made a gruesome mistake by pulling out her gun instead of her taser and killing a man. So you're telling me that Daunte Wright's life was worth $1,000 in 16 months in prison, which 60 days has already been used, which 2 months are already been used. So you got what, 14 months left? What's up with this judge? Oh my God, this judge. That's a surprise. Like, not really. She led her way up there and I wasn't surprised. I thought she was going to get a year, literally just full year. So I was surprised that she got 2 years, 16 months, good behavior, basically. And then, of course, she'll be on probation. And, of course, she can't touch a firearm for the rest of her life. She can't own or touch a firearm or any types of anything else that could take someone's life, right? She can't touch anything of that sort. Okay, fine. But that's it. Interesting. Interesting.
You may be seated, Ms. Potter. I'd like to make a few parting comments.
Why? Do you have any? What else do you have to say? You said what you had to say, Judge. Judge Chu, you already said what you said. Wow, this is to me, this is a bit surprising. A little bit, just a little bit. I mean, not as much as because she softened the blow with all that cushioning in the beginning. And like I said, I felt it in my bones. I was like, okay, while she's sitting here saying this, she's obviously Team Potter or understanding of Potter. And I guess what the defense did helped the judge make her decision even more, given the fact that he came out with all these love letters and these notes from her mama, came out with the mama stuff too. Let me just tell you, there's assisted living. Let me tell you, there's nursing homes. Those do exist. I'm just letting y'all know. She could have been without her. She could have. Just letting you know. Okay, if she's really not that, able-bodied, I understand. Not all of us are as able-bodied as the next person, but at the same time, if your daughter had done a crime, she must go do the time. Sorry, there's assisted living. There are there are nursing homes and whatnot that could help with your mother while you're being locked up. That's just my own personal opinion, but let's see what she has to say, what the judge has to say.
I recognize there will be those who disagree with the sentence, that I granted a significant downward departure does not in any way diminish Daunte Wright's life. His life mattered.
You sure his life? See, this is what I want to say, Judge. You sure? You sure his life mattered to you? You just gave this woman $1,000 as a 1,078 something. It's something like that. But basically $1,000 to pay for, which she can pay it off while she's in prison or pay it off. It has to be paid off within 180 days, right? And then you gave this woman 2 years. Is that it? Really? Okay. Did his life really matter?
And to those who disagree and feel a longer prison sentence is appropriate, as difficult as it may be, please try to empathize with Ms. Potter's situation.
Okay, this is where I go and say, how does her, sorry, I'm changing the title real quick. How is her case any different from anyone? How is hers different from any other case where you go and you kill somebody? Okay. How is hers any different? So you're telling me that any person that's behind the shield that wears, that is a boy, a man or woman of the blue, you're telling me that if they go off and do something and they make a devastating mistake, leaving somebody dead, killing a young man, there's an exception to the rule, so they're the exception? Now, I get the intent, strategic. I get intent. I get it. But this man is no longer here. This person is dead. This is not somebody who was injured or even maimed. Let's just say even maimed. This man is dead. So how is her situation different? There are plenty of people that have had mistakes, right? That have had mistakes while driving a vehicle, while performing a surgery, all those things, that are in prison for doing said thing. Now, they may not be life in prison. I'm not expecting life in prison on this particular case, but I expected more than just a year and a half. I expected more than just a year and a half. That's all. That's all. Her story is no different, okay? This police brutality stuff and cops making the wrong mistake because they have a split-second decision to make is a tale as old as time. I'm telling you, we've all heard this stuff a million times before. So how's her story any different? How is she the exception to the rule? That don't work for me, y'all. But, hey, the judge made her decision.
As President Barack Obama once said, learning to stand in somebody else's shoes, to see through their eyes, that's how peace begins. And it's up to you to make that happen. Empathy is a quality of character that can change the world. Officer Kimberly Potter was trying to do the right thing. Of all the jobs in public service, police officers have the most difficult one.
Okay.
They must make snap decisions under tense, evolving, and ever-changing circumstances. They risk their lives every single day in public service. Officer Potter made a mistake that ended tragically.
Is the judge getting emotional now too? I'm sorry. Is the judge getting emotional now too? What? Oh, no, 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 no. She's getting emotional too? Yo, the judge is her voice is cracking. Her ASMR is starting to crack. Come on, man.
She never intended to hurt anyone.
Why is she? Why is she? Why is she getting emotional? Why is she getting emotional? Why is she getting emotional?
Her conduct cries out for a sentence significantly below the guidelines. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, we got to talk, y'all. We got to talk. But is there any more? Does she have more to say? No. Just people coming in with the commentary. Okay. Okay, cabron. Okay. Here we go, guys. Son of a... All right. Y'all seen it. 24 months. Basically 16 months. A little shy of a year and a half on good behavior. And now, judge got emotional, y'all. Interesting. I'm sorry. She got all Carl Thomas up in this piece, man. Emotional, and I can't let go. Why did that happen? Why did that happen? What the hell happened, y'all? So, anyway, here it is. I totally understand situations, all right? I understand that what the judge had to do was she had to make her own decisions, obviously, as far as the sentencing, what the sentencing did, right? Now, Laura Estrada, you know what? Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I think I missed somebody's comment earlier on because I was not looking at the comments because I knew for a fact y'all had already seen the verdict because we were a few minutes behind and all that. But anyway, she says, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Laura Estrada, thank you so much. She says, how are you feeling, Pascal? I'm disgusted, so disgusted. Judge got bought. Let me tell you something. I don't know if it was the moment where she was on the stand back in the day. Remember a couple months ago or a little while ago when Kim Potter went and took the stand to speak on her behalf and she just literally just broke down and just lost it? I feel like that grabbed the judge. Now, the judge was not going to make the final verdict. That was up to the jury. And the jury still found her guilty, right? She was found guilty. Today is her sentencing. And that all comes down to the judge making the decision whether she's going to see a full 7 years, if not more, right? People were predicting that she was going to see 7 years behind bars. Everybody and their mama, Court TV, MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, everybody who's been talking about this has predicted just about 7 years. She's going to be seeing the life behind bars and a possibility of getting out after a couple years or whatnot. But 2 years with a possibility of getting out in a year and a half, actually more like a year and 2 months because she's already spent 60 days behind bars. Remember that. So makes people feel some type of way, or at least people who feel that justice is not served. Now, the question that I like to throw out to you guys: do you think justice is served here, y'all? Yes or no? Let me know. Put in the comments. Do you think that this was a verdict well-deserved or no? That's what I'd like to know. For me, I need a second. I'm still trying to. I mean, my reaction was big. Obviously, I feel like there's something there's a little something not right in my personal opinion. I was thinking maybe she'll get 3 or 4, right? Not the full 7, or not 7, but only a year and a couple months. I don't know. It ain't working for me. It ain't working for me. Okay, because this is somebody who. Black Anonymous says, hell to the no, hell no. Okay, we got Vernon Rod, hell to the no too. You know what I'm saying? We got no, she should have gotten 3 years in prison. That's what I think as well. I think, within 3-4 years, I think is, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that's justice served. I'm gonna be real. I would have been like, that's good enough. But a year and 2 months ish. Nah, Laura Estrada, thumbs down. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. TJ Washington, appreciate it. Thank you so much for saying that I'm smart like you. Hopefully you ain't dumb. I'm kidding. But anyway, have to watch Pascal more often. Thank you. Please, by all means, hey, shameless plug, please go hit that like button down below one more time. And also go hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that yet. And also do me a favor, guys. I'm trying to bulk up my my Twitter. So please follow me on Twitter. The Pascal Show, one word. I'm starting to throw out some conversations and articles over there on the Twitter. So the Pascal Show, one word, on the twits. Please go follow me on there. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram as well. And that's the Pascal Show, one word as well. So please definitely follow on those platforms as well. That would really, really mean a lot. But here it is, guys. I know some of y'all are going to be like, hey, I'm with this. Some of y'all might think, no, I'm not with this. For me, I think she should have been 3 years, 3-4 years. I would have been like, okay, that's fair. Let her be out in there long enough for her to really know what she did was wrong. This is somebody, yes, there was no, as Strategic said earlier, there was no intent, right? You got to have intent, right, for it to be, let's say, murder, right? For someone to actually murder somebody, there has to be intent. There has to be a reason behind it, right? You look at Derek Chauvin, for example. In my personal opinion, there was absolutely 110% intent to take George Floyd's life, right? Where somebody goes off and commits an actual crime, like breaks into somebody's house and actually stabs somebody to death. Let's just use that for an example. That is intent. The actual intent to do some wrongdoing to somebody's body, yes, then you get smacked in the face with the book. Throw the book at him, right? Bury him under the prison. Now, when it comes to Kim Potter's situation, this was not filled with intent. This was an accident. It was a mistake. Now, her negligence, her ignorance of not knowing what a gun feels like in her hand is wrong. But that does not automatically mean that she intended to pull the gun out and go blah, 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 blah. No. She pulled out her gun thinking it was the taser. Proper training should have told her that. But that does not automatically mean that there is intent on wrongdoing. You see what I'm saying? It's not like she walked out, saw Daunte Wright and said, yo, I'm going to pull out my gun and start blasting because I just don't like this guy. I don't like the way he looks, and I'd rather have him not be here anymore, right? Now, here's the other piece, because I see people saying 26 years, okay? 26 years, she knows. 26 years, she knows. She knows what a gun and taser feels like. You know what? I totally agree with that too. There's that argument too. You got somebody, thank you, Justice Gordon Tilo, 26 years, she knows what a gun and taser feels. You know what I'm saying? I agree with that entirely. Now, that's the thing. Being able to show that in court. How are you able to show that in court? That she knew exactly what she was doing and that she had intent on taking this man's life. That is the hardest part. And that's the reason why they were not successful in that side of things. Hence the reason why she wasn't hit with murder. You see? Because they're sitting there going, we can't prove that without a shadow of a doubt, she pulled out her gun with intent to kill. You look at somebody like Derek Chauvin, where he had intent. You saw it in the videos. You saw it in multiple angles. I mean, shoot, you can see that he had that there was some malice, fueled anger that he had going on when he took George Floyd's life. Now you look at Kim Potter. The worst thing that happened is that she didn't know the difference between a damn taser and a damn gun. Now, this also can resort back to, what's up with the department? What's up with that particular police department? Why are they not training their people properly? Why aren't they talking to their people and saying, hey, yo, what she did was wrong. What she did, or actually even before that, before even any of this happened, let's make sure we are training our people properly, that you know that the gun is on this side and the taser's on this side. She literally pulled the gun out on her right side. Real talk. She done mucked up. But that's why I feel that she should be there longer than just a year and 2 months, because that's some BS in my personal opinion. Then also on top of that, I was just about to say it, Deion Walker. Let me pull that up real quick. Let me pull up what you just said, because I was literally about to say this too. She was the trainer. So whatever her mistakes are, whatever her bad habits, her mistakes, so on and so forth, she's actually teaching these things to other people. You ever seen the dude on Instagram and TikTok? He's like the worst self-defense instructor in the world. Black guy. He tries to show like, oh, it's so easy to disarm a guy with a gun. That's basically like Kim Potter. running around teaching our boys in blue who protect and serve how to protect themselves and how to make the right decisions when ish hits the fan. Now, something that something that Judge Chu said a second ago, all right, is that this woman served and split second decisions. Okay, I am, and no disrespect to anybody who feels this type of way or anybody who's in the chat who is in the line of duty or anything like that. But I am so sick and tired of that excuse. I am so sick and tired of hearing he had a split second decision and therefore he had to use deadly force. That's why that man's no longer here. Blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. No disrespect to anybody in the chat or watching this show. But I wish that there was a better reasoning on why police officers make really crappy decisions when ish hits the fan. I feel like that is a perfect example of bad training. I feel like there should be repeated training sessions every 6 months, hell, every year, whatever it may be, to make sure that police officers are following protocol like it's like breathing, like it's by rote. Instead of them going outside, going into the fray, when ish hits the fan, then they suddenly don't know the difference between a metal gun and a plastic taser. Bright yellow taser, by the way. That's the piece that really does frustrate me beyond reason, okay? Instead of going, he had it's exactly what this judge just said. She had a split second decision to do what she needed to do. She didn't know it was a mistake, so on and so forth. So then, then let's go back to the root of things. Let's figure out a way to stop these kinds of mistakes from happening. Proper training. Like going back and redoing certain things, reevaluating each and every single police officer, making sure that they know what procedure is when ish hits the fan. Hey, there's officers that are still running around putting knees on guys' necks when they're trying to detain them. Still to this day, they out here still. We still see these videos all day long. Why aren't they doing a group training session going, we have new procedures, we have new protocol that we need to have, we need to make sure everybody has this down like the back of their, like they know it like the back of their hand, and so that this doesn't happen anymore. That's it. Shoot, man, every single time that there's a new procedure or new protocol at restaurants. I mean, I remember doing this stuff when I was, bartending or serving at crappy little restaurants. They'll sit there and go, okay, we have new procedure. We got to make sure that we do this, this, and this. We got to sit down. We come in on our days off on a Sunday or on a dark day like a Sunday or Monday to go through the proper procedure to make sure that we have those things ready for the next day of work. Why aren't they doing the same thing within the police? So when you see something like this, I mean, yeah, I am surprised. I'm absolutely surprised by we're just going to, it's just a mistake that she made at a split second. Well, yes, it's a mistake that she made at a split second, but those kinds of seconds matter. You should already know what procedure is. You should know that pulling out your taser, you should know the difference between taser, and gun. That's what I think. So I think when it comes to this sentencing, I don't think it's enough. But here it is. Sentencing has already been made. They've already made the sentencing. What's done is done. There's nothing we can do to change that ish. Let's keep it real straight funky. We can't change nothing now. What's done is done. All I can hope for is that Kim Potter, when she comes out of prison after the year and 2 months that she spends in there and spends her $1,000 in fines and whatnot, that she does something positive with what she does from this point on. That's it. Period. So I wonder if the family has come out and said anything. I'm wondering if there's some people coming out and talk. Yep. We got some footage. We're going to take a look at this as well. And like I said, you are more than you're more than you have all the room in the world to disagree with what I'm saying here. Okay. We can agree to disagree on this. I do think this was less. All right. I think that this was less than what she should have gotten. You got a young man, regardless if his career was regardless if he had a tarnished rap sheet, if he had a rap sheet or whatnot, still he should have had the opportunity to go to trial, pay his time for the crime that he did, instead of being shot in point blank range. Point blank range, y'all. That's all I'm saying. But we got there's some more footage here, which is very interesting. I want to hear what the family has to say about this verdict. So let's take a look. I might be scrubbing through pretty quickly, but let's take a look at this, shall we?
Smartest and most articulate experts that we bring in to speak about this, and it's interesting to hear his opinion on this immediately after what I just saw, from what would be the other side, which would be the Kim Potter supporters.
Are we expecting Wright's family to speak sometime soon here?
Thomas Bowers, I'm the lawyer for China.
Yeah,
Director.
the Attorney General Keith Ellison. The Attorney General Keith Ellison put out a note.
I guess disappointment would
bye.
be, maybe an overstatement, however you want to put it. We think that 2 years is probably, you might as well just let her walk free. If you're going to give somebody 2 years for taking a life, and then give them the benefit of the doubt on, everything when it comes to the purpose of getting jail time. So it's very disappointing to see a judge make a decision like this. But at least they got a conviction on this case, and at least she will get some time. So that's the positive from something that's so negative as far as the jail time that happened. But let's just keep fighting for justice and just keep trying to get the right thing done for, innocent victims who are executed in the streets, one case at a time. But at least she was indicted. At least she was convicted. That's the positive. But Daunte will never see his child again. And I've got to look at Daunte Jr. every day. And he'll never be able to play football with him. He won't see his son graduate. And it seems like that was forgotten by this judge, that there's a young man who is not breathing today, who can't see his family and his relatives and hug his mom and hug his child and play football with his child, see his child go to elementary school, see his child go to high school, go to prom. Daunte will never see any of that again. And once again, this is, I think it's lenient. And these police officers are going to be thinking, if I do something like this, even if I think it's a mistake, I won't even get, any time for it. But let the role be reversed and let, Daunte be charged with something like this. He'd get the maximum, I'm sure. They'll figure out some sort of way to give him an upward departure. So it's pretty sad, but I appreciate everybody being here and the support that the community is showing. So.
What role do you think race played in this case? The judge is Chinese, the officer is white, the victim is black. What role do you think race played?
Well, it's obvious that race is a factor. That's something that you really can't get over. You want to think that justice is fair and that Lady Justice is not peeking underneath her blindfold, but it is what it is, right? So race is definitely a factor here. And I would think that it would probably, maybe the judge feels some empathy toward the officer, because maybe she can relate to her. I can't get into her head, but it's always a factor, right? So, but, one case at a time, and hopefully, eventually we get to a point where, things would be more fair and equal, and you'll see equal sentences.
Real quick, Jeff Height, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. He says, if the police have their hands on you, don't try to run from them. They have you. Chases never end well. Mistakes on both sides of this were tragic. Absolutely. Yes. And let's not get it twisted. There were mistakes on Daunte's side. He shouldn't have ran. Let's keep it real. Okay. Let's keep it a stack. All right. We can't sit here and automatically just say that he was completely justified for trying to take off. He shouldn't have tried to take off. He shouldn't have. Okay. But at the same time, he would have, if there was no gun pulled out, he would have been tased. He would have been hurt. He would have been taken into court. He would have been found guilty or not guilty for his wrongdoings, and he would still be able to live his life, pay his time for the crimes that he's done, and it would have been a wrap. But he's not here anymore because of the lack of training, the devastating mistake, the bad choices on this particular officer's hands.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
My name is Henry Pan. I'm on assignment for the Minnesota Smoke.
Okay. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Yo, I'm
sorry.
going to grab my
Okay,
recorder, but it's all good. Have a good one.
All right, that's good.
Okay. Let's see. I think there's more. I think
equity ring very true. But to just speak from a strictly legal standpoint, too.
Let's get it. Benjamin Crump.
I'm Attorney Ben Crump, along with Attorney Jeff Storms and Attorney Tony Amanucci. We have the honor of representing the parents of Daunte Wright and his family. They are very, very disappointed. They feel that very disappointed because they believe that there was no reason to have such consideration for the killer of their child. They believe that there is an apples to apples comparison. Many in the Twin Cities believe that. They believe that Muhammad Noor, a black police officer who was convicted of a lesser charge of manslaughter 2, received a much greater sentence than this white woman who killed their son Daunte Wright. So it is an apples to apples comparison in their mind. They believe that in their heart, and they just don't understand why there was consideration given to the white police woman who killed the young black man and not consideration given to a black police officer who killed a young white woman. They are trying to understand it. We're all trying to understand it. What we see today is the legal system in America in black and white. And we continue to fight for equal justice under the law. It can't just be a concept, it has to be real. And what they believe today was their son did not get the consideration that he deserved in this matter. At this time, Attorney Jeff Storms, Minnesota's own, will address you briefly. And Attorney Tony Ramanucci couldn't be with us today, but then you will hear from the parents of Daunte Wright, and then we'll try to take some of your questions.
You know, I think the best way that I've heard Attorney Crump describe this is the comparison to Lucy moving the football on Charlie Brown. You know, we saw Derek Chauvin get convicted. We saw Kim Potter get convicted. And so I think we all allowed ourselves to believe a little bit for a moment that there could be an equal justice system for our black and other communities of color citizens compared to the justice system that arises when someone who is white is killed, particularly at the hands of law enforcement. You know, what we've seen here now is, if you listen to the sentencing remarks when Muhammad Noor was sentenced, there were a lot of talks about the problems in the community with policing and how there continued to be other deaths like George Floyd and Daunte Wright, and Muhammad Noor was given greater than the presumptive sentence. But the problem with policing in Minnesota has never been the killing of white people by officers of color. It's been the over-policing of our black and other communities of color. And let's not forget that all of this started with a textbook pretextual stop. Daunte was stopped for tabs or an air freshener, whatever version you want to listen to. But it wasn't for anything violent. It wasn't for the call Muhammad Noor responded to saying someone might be assaulted. And so now when we try to put this in the broader context of Minnesota, it's inexplicable. How do we look at this wonderful family and tell them that there's justice and fairness? You know, how do you look at children, you know, black children and children of color, and say you're going to get the same fair shake? And we just can't do that with confidence right now. And, you know, the family is obviously grieving and feels betrayed by the system, and, you know, and they should. And all that's left to do now is to continue the fight in Daunte Wright's name and in the fight in the names of others.
Right now, you'll hear from Miss Katie and Aubrey, the parents of Daunte Wright, knowing that many of their family members said, you know, do you believe that we'll get equal justice? And I told them I believe they would. I thought we had reached a new precedent in America where we were going to see equal justice regardless of the ethnicity of the offending party and the victims. And so a lot of them said, Attorney Crump, you really believe it? I said, we're fighting to make it equal justice. And they said, we normally don't see that in America. And we tried to encourage them to believe that it is equal justice in America. But when we have sentences like this, it makes it difficult to make those arguments, because wasn't Muhammad Noor trying to do the exact same thing they said Kim Potter was trying to do? He was trying to look out for his fellow officers' safety as well. He was very remorseful as well. But they didn't make a downward departure for the black police officer like they made for this white police woman. And that's problematic to many people of color in America, that we continue to see this intellectual justification to make sure that seems like they get the most of justice and we get the most of injustice. And that's what we're struggling with at this moment. So this is very emotional for them. This is their baby. Miss Katie will address you first, and then her husband, Aubrey, Daunte's father, will address you.
Oh. Kim Potter murdered my son, and he died April 11th. Today, the justice system murdered him all over again. To sit there and watch, pouring my heart out in my victim impact statement that took so long to write, and I reread it over and over again, to not get a response out of the judge at all. But then when it came down to sentencing Kim Potter, she broke out in tears. So once again, we are standing here to say that we're very disappointed in the outcome. Yes, we got a conviction, and we thank everybody for that. But again, this isn't okay. This is the problem with our justice system today. White women tears trumps justice.
And this is a white woman saying that. I'm just pointing that out. She just said white woman's tears trumps justice. Well, yep.
And I thought my white women tears would be good enough because they're true and genuine. But when they're coerced, coached, and taught by the defense attorney, I guess we didn't have a win in this at all. Thank you.
I want to just say, you know, I feel cheated. I feel hurt.
Is that Patrice O'Neal behind him? Sorry. Continuing.
I'm very upset that my son's life was taken, and that it seemed to me that nobody even cared enough. You know, it was like they were so tied up into her feelings and what's going on with her that they forgot about my son being killed. A life was taken. And it's just sad to say that I feel like we was tricked. You know, we was limited on everything, on what to even say, I feel like. And it's just sad that our justice system will, you know, we actually thought we was going to get a little justice. You know, nothing could ease our mind from Daunte being killed. But just the fact of knowing that this lady was going to pay for that, it gave us a little sense of hope, like, you know, things were going to get a little bit better. But now I walk out of this courthouse feeling like people are laughing at us because this lady got a slap on the wrist, and we still every night sitting around crying, waiting on my son to come home. I'm upset.
And the emotions are real. You know, one of Daunte's family members told me just now, you know, people in our community have gotten sentenced to greater time for selling marijuana than she got for killing our cousin.
Facts.
Let that sink in. There are black people in prison serving greater time for selling marijuana, which is legal in most states, than this police officer got for killing this young black man. I don't know if the family is prepared to take any questions. Thank you.
Man, oh man.
Attorney Crump, can I ask you a question?
Let's see. Let me see if there's any more. And then it's just commentary. But there you guys have it. Obviously, understandably, the family's upset. Understandably, the family's upset. They were expecting more than that. They wanted some sort of justice for their son, their loved one, for Daunte Wright. I'll say this. Some of y'all might think, hey, you know, this was justice served. Job is done. She was found guilty. She was tried. She was sentenced. Some of y'all will sit there and go, hey, it's surprising it went past the trial. It went into trial. Some of these guys get to walk away, and then they get thrown back out in the streets doing exactly the same job that they were doing in the first place. Not learning from their mistakes, still doing very bad things and hurting people out here in these streets. So some people sit here and say, hey, justice was served. Justice was absolutely served. In my personal opinion, it's kind of yes and kind of no. Yes, she was brought in. She was tried. She was found guilty. Great. Guilty of doing this thing. There's justice right there. Then she is sentenced. So yeah, she is still going to see the inside of a prison cell. She is still going to be in there for at least a year. At least. a year. Okay. A little over a year. Okay. And she will never, ever be behind the shield ever again. Some people would sit there and say that this is justice well served. To me, I would have liked to see a few more years added on. I would have liked to see that. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So now it comes down to what this is here, okay? Where's the justice? How is the justice really going to be served? Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real, guys. Justice can also be served with what she does from this point on. After she gets out of prison, she spends her time in prison. She does her job, right? Serving her time. And then she comes out and she does exactly what that defense attorney said, that she goes out there and she speaks on, weapons and knowing the difference between the guns and the taser. You see what I'm saying? Taking this negative, taking what she has done, the mistakes she did, and that she has performed, right? And turning it into a positive, finding ways to teach other cops or other people how to not have this happen again, so that other cops don't make the same mistake. And I guarantee you, there's other cops that have made this mistake too. So the question really remains, yes, she's going in there. She's seeing a year, which is still trash in my opinion. But what can she do to actually show that she is rehabilitated and that she's learned from her mistakes, willing to change her ways? And I think that if she steps forward and does exactly what that lawyer says, then maybe by bringing her out and teaching and talking about this with other departments and all that, that maybe this can turn into something more positive, so that this man's death isn't in vain. That's what I hope for. But still, I still think that she should have gotten a few more years tacked on to the sentencing. But nonetheless, she is still seeing the inside of a prison cell. Does this bring this young man back to life? No. Does this bring justice for him? Quasi. But I'm sure there's going to be civil suits and whatnot coming around the bend for her and for that police department as well. So we can only sit back, wait, and see on that. Anyway, guys, that is the show. Let me throw this up really quick. Oops. Thank you, Jeff Height, for the $5 super chat. The police need a rule. If you view your own hands are obstructed, do not fire your taser. Can't see it? Don't do it. You know what? I like that. I mean, there's a lot of things within standard procedure with police and all that I wish that they would start implementing more. I mean, this starts with things way past George Floyd, way past Michael Brown Jr. even. There's certain procedure that needs to be implemented so that we don't have these hashtags anymore. Point blank, period. So Jeff Height, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Anyway, guys, that is the show. Been on long enough, and I got another one going on later on this afternoon. So be on the lookout for another live. And if you're not getting notifications, turn off the bell, right? And turn that bell back on. Like, turn it off and then click on it again. You know what I'm saying? Just to make sure you're getting every notification whenever I go live. Okay, guys? I will be back on a little later on today, so be on the lookout for that. There's plenty other stories going on and popping off. It has been insane. And of course, we had to talk about this because this closes a major chapter of a story that we've been talking about for 10 months now, it seems. So I appreciate you guys being on this journey with me and talking about this story. It's tragic. It's devastating. And I leave that up to you. The question still remains, is this justice? fully serve for Daunte Wright? I'll say this. Family don't think so. His family most definitely does not think so. My thoughts and prayers go out to his family, and I hope they get a chance to heal properly. And like I said, there's other ways to get justice. So we'll see what other lawsuits come around the bend here soon. Anyway, guys, it's time to get going. I appreciate all y'all for being on. Hit that like button down below. Do not forget to crush that subscribe button. Come on now. Don't be shy now. Crush that subscribe button. And please share the feed. Okay? And also, I want to say this in the chat. Hey, we can all disagree and agree at the same time. That's what the chat is all about. That's why I appreciate about the chat. Just keep it classy and keep it respectful. Anyway, guys, much love to you guys. Until next time, be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. I'll see y'all very, very soon. This is the Pascal Show. Bye.
I'm sorry, I can't make this interview boring because this man is too exciting as a host. And I'm truly saying this, and if y'all can't do this, me and this man here is going to leave and go somewhere else where we can get some love. I want everyone in the building to say, I love Pascal on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Wow.
Homeowners and property managers, if you're looking for effective and humane ways to remove wild animals and deal with the damage that they have caused, we have good news for you. Introducing Wildlife Command Center. We are the only wildlife company that checks 70 different areas on a structure to determine the answers to the following questions. For more information, call us now.
The Fur and Leather Center, providing the highest of fur and leather goods.